Okay, continuing on, we're reading this story, and we're up to the third part of this story. People who make maple syrup must read the signs of the season to know when to get to work. In the early spring, when daytime and nighttime temperatures are just right, the trees can be tapped. First, a small hole is drilled into the tree. Then the tap, a short tube, is placed into the hole. Sap drips through the tap into a bucket. When the bucket is full, the sap is taken to the sugar house. There the sap is boiled and boiled until it thickens into syrup. If you boil the syrup even longer, it crystallizes or hardens into maple sugar. Then it is quickly put into molds to give it a pretty shape. Paper, pencils, candy. Your backpack is full. Can you believe that so many things you carry around every day come from forest? And this section is from it's an excerpt from What's That in Your Backpack by Mona Peace from Appleseeds. So now we've read the story, an informational story, and boys and girls, of course, we can reread it. We can go back and reread it as we need to make sure we understand. Now let's look at the questions. Many items made from trees are used every day. Pick 3 details from the passage that best supports this idea. And the idea is many items made from trees are used every day. So I'm going to get my clicker here. Cedar trees are used to make pencils. I found that in the story. Slats from the cedar tree are glued together. That's true. Many items are made from trees are used every day. Well, this just tells us the slats from the cedar trees are glued together. Let's skip that one. I'm only going to pick 3. Graphite or lead is used to make marks on paper. Now that doesn't help us understand about trees. Let's go to the next one. A paper mill is where pulp is made from chipped wood. Syrup from trees is used to make candy and other treats. Syrup from trees, that would work with the idea many items are made from trees that are used every day. Trees are cut down. Trees that are cut down may be made into paper for books. That would also help us out. And we could, if we wanted to, go back up here and get our cross out and cross this one out. Cross this one out, cross this one out. I picked these 3 because these 3 ideas best supports this this supports this idea up here. So now I've made my 3 selections. I'm ready to go on. Now our same story is used for this question. So let's get our line guide here going on this side over here. Read the passage from the passage. Read the paragraph from the passage and the directions that follow. Your pencils come from the forest too. They are made from wood of a cedar tree. At the pencil factory, cedar logs are sawed into chunky blocks, then sliced into make flat slats. Next, narrow grooves are cut into the slats to hold the graphite, which is the lead part you write with. After the graphite is set in place, 2 slats are glued together, sandwiching the graphite inside. Then the pencils are cut and painted. Finally, the eraser is added. What is the main idea of this paragraph up here? Let's get our selection tool. The main idea, that's the big idea of this paragraph. Cedar trees grow in a forest. Factories make pencils from cedar wood. That's pretty good. Cedar slats are glued together with graphite in the middle. That's just one thing from this paragraph. Blocks of cedars are cut into thin, flat slats so that the pencils can be made. That's just a couple points from the paragraph. But the main idea is that factories make pencils from cedar wood. That's the big idea. So we got to go up here, turn this off, and we got our pointer back. Then factories make pencils from cedar wood. Next question. And we still have our same story on the left. So now we're back up here. Their directions tells us the author uses a word that means placed one on top of another. The author uses a word that means placed one on top of another. Click on the word in the paragraph that is closest to that idea. The idea is, let's use the lighter, means placed on top of another. So it would be like if you had some cards, you're placing one on top of another, that would mean like stacked maybe. So let's look down through here. Paper making begins in the forest where trees are marked. Let's get our pointer back. Where trees are marked to be cut down. Once the trees are cut, the biggest branches are removed. The logs, as they are now called, are stacked in huge piles. There's the word stacked, and remember I said place one on top of another like a stack of cards, stacked in huge piles. Click on the word in the paragraph that closest to the idea. I think I found it already. Chipped, drained, sprayed are not related to placing one on top of the other. Stacked is the best answer. So I think we've got this one done. So let's go on to the next one. And now we're on to, we still have the same story, but now we have a part A, part B. It says this question has two parts. First part A, then answer part B. Part A, click on the sentence that gives the best conclusion. I'm looking for the best conclusion about the people who make maple syrup. Now, in order for us to understand, we could go back and reread that last section of the story. You may recall the last section of the story was down here about the maple syrup. A conclusion is what we conclude after reading. They must protect the trees, the people that make maple syrup. They must protect the trees. Well, that's probably true. They must pay attention to nature. It does say something over here that they've got to read the signs of the season. They must work outdoors all the time. I don't think they're out there all the time. They probably go inside as they're boiling the syrup down. They must like the taste of maple syrup. Well, whether they like it or not, they're going to make the maple syrup for a profit. Right here, it does say over on this side, I'm going to get my highlighter here, and people who make maple syrup must read the signs of the season when to get to work. Early spring when daytime. See, they've got to be able to read the seasons. So they must pay attention to nature. And then I clicked on it, it turned green, so that's my selection. If I didn't like my selection, if I pushed erase, it erased all of it. So let's get my selection back here. There we go, and let's go to the next one. Now, part B, this question has two parts. First, answer part A, we just did, then answer part B. Click on two sentences from the passage that best supports your answer in part A. Part A, my answer is, they must pay attention to nature. Now, if we go back to this paragraph, and I already kind of mentioned this paragraph over here. Click on two sentences that best supports our answer. People who make maple syrup must read the signs of the season to know when to get to work. In early spring, when daytime and nighttime temps are just right, the trees can be tapped. First, a small hoe. So right here, these first two sentences really support the idea, the main idea, which is they must pay attention to nature as the best answers. So I'm going to leave that as it is and go right on. Now, what inference can be made about why the author includes the backpack in the passage? Support your answers with details from the passage. An inference is something we come to by reasoning. So here is this word inference right there, inference. And so I want to write a few sentences about making an inference. Why the author includes backpack in the passage. Let's go going here. The author, let's turn the highlighter off. Well, let's see here. I've got to be able to, there we finally, didn't want to type it first, now it is. The author of the story gets our attention by saying what's in your backpack. As we read the story, we find out that paper, pencils, and maple syrup or some candy are made from trees. The author of the story gets our attention by saying, what's in your backpack? As we read the story, we find out that paper, pencils, and maple syrup or some candy are made from trees. So the inference we're making is that these things are made from trees. We can say paper comes from wood pulp from trees. Pencils are made from cedar trees with a certain process. Maple syrup, maple sap, is collected from maple trees and boiled down to make syrup. So the inference is we get many products from trees that are found in nature. How about that? Now see that last sentence is a sentence that makes an inference. We get many products from trees that are found in nature. So I've written a little essay. What inference can be made about why the author includes the backpack in the passage? I write about what's in your backpack. And then I cite some details from the story, and I make this inference right here. We get many products from trees that are found in nature. I think that's a good answer. Let's go on to the next one. Question 12. Once again, we are still on the same story. This has been a hard practice test. And boys and girls, it's easy to get tired and fatigued, and sometimes you may just need to take a break and just rest a little bit. And we've been going at it for quite some time now. This question has two parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. So once again, we're going to have two parts here. If we go ahead, we see this part B, but we're on part A right here. So, read part A. Read the paragraph in the passage and the directions that follow. People who make maple syrup must read the signs of nature. Okay, we read that already. Okay, first, we read that there the sap is boiled and boiled into it thickens the syrup. If you boil the syrup even longer, it crystallizes, hardens into maple syrup sugar. Then it's quickly put into molds to give it a pretty shape, like paper, pencils, candy. Your backpack is full. Can you believe that so many things you carry around every day come from forest? Choose the sentence that best describes what the information in the paragraph shows about the author's point of view. Your backpack is full. Can you believe that so many things? I really like this here. His point of view, he's trying to convince us. The author believes that making maple syrup is easy. No, not necessarily. The author believes that maple syrup is best when it's boiled. The author believes that making maple candy takes careful planning. Well, let's see here. He does detail out the importance of collecting and boiling and taking to the sap house. It's boiled. If it's boiled longer, it turns to sugar. We have four choices here. Choose the sentence that best describes what the information in the paragraph shows about the author's point of view. You'll notice that I'm rereading this here of what it tells us to do. The author's point of view. The author's written this story to try to convey information about his point of view, what he understands or she understands. I don't think maple syrup is easy. The author believes the maple syrup is best when it is boiled. The author believes that making maple candy takes careful planning. Now this one here I like because he talks about up in here reading the signs, gathering the sap, to the sugar house, boiling it and boiling it longer so it turns into sugar and then into candy. So careful planning, I like this one. The author believes that making candy from maple syrup is a wise idea. Wise idea. I don't see where it mentions wise or wisdom. However, though, a person doing this work would have to be diligent. They'd have to persevere. They'd have to keep working hard and make careful plans. I like the careful planning one better. So I'd go with C. Let's go to the next one. Now, B. The question has two parts. The first answer part A, then answer part B. Which two sentences from the passage best support your answer in part A? People who make maple syrup must read the signs of the season to know when to get to work. Okay. Sap drips through the tap in the bucket. When the bucket is full, if you boil syrup even longer, it crystallizes, hardens into maple sugar. Then it quickly is put into molds to give it pretty shape. And what we picked the author believes the mechanics take careful planning. Which one best supports our answer, careful planning? I think this first one right here, because get to work, there's a whole series of things they have to do during that time in order to be successful. Let's click the next one. And we have one more to do in this area here on this one. We're on question 13, but we're going to pause for just a moment.